Right, here with journalist and boxing commentator Peter Badel. Pete, there's been some big headlines come out of the press conference today, mates. What did you make of Tszyu-Sebastian Fundora, number 2, the press conference?
Well, he's hard to dislike, isn't he, Sebastian Fundora? I think he's a genuinely good guy. However, the one point of contention that I think has got under the goat or under the skin of both men is the claim about the cut. Now, Fundora genuinely believes in his heart that Tszyu could see the whole time. Tszyu's disputed that and said, I had limited visibility, and I believe Tim because I can't imagine fighting 10 rounds with blood pouring out of your head. So, but Fundora doubled down today, and I saw that really got under Tim's skin, and Tim fired back. But when he hit back at Fundora, I noticed that Fundora almost was a bit unsettled by it, and I think he should be because I think he knows down deep that he won that fight. I believe Fundora won that fight. But it's interesting that after the fight, Fundora offered the WBO belt back to Tim. And Tim said, no, you won the belt. But that shows, I think, it's great sportsmanship. But the fact that Fundora, post-fight, offered the WBO belt back to Tim, to me suggests that I don't think he feels in his heart of hearts that he really won that fight. Otherwise, why do you offer the belt back to Tim? So, great sportsmanship, but also a beautiful narrative about what awaits us on Sunday Australian time, because I think Tszyu is ready to reclaim the world title.
What do you made of this sort of, back and forth this week? There's been some comments from Tim. He called him a dumbass for the comments about the cuts. What do you made of that sort of dynamic going on there?
I genuinely believe there's a little bit of tension there. And look, Fundora's a hard guy to needle, but I know Tim talked about how unsettled he was when he got that cut, and then he was going back to his corner, worrying less about the instructions from his corner and more about the fountain of blood pouring out of his head. So that's going to be something psychologically that Tim has to deal with. I mean, not only physically but emotionally. But it's interesting, Jay, I was talking to Tim's camp today, and they said that their corner has prepared more than ever for the prospect of a cut. They've got what they've called quick aid, which is like a gauze type padding, which is banned in Australia, but it's available for use in America, and that can be used to coagulate the blood and stem the blood flow if there's another cut. So I think it's a fascinating development for the Tszyu corner. They are more stocked up than ever because I think they realised they stuffed up in the first fight. I think they could have had a more seamless corner. It was a bit chaotic, which they admit. They had a crisis meeting after it, some honest conversations, and Tim said we all need to be better, myself included, and the corner man Mark Gambin has been better, and I think he will be better in this fight with the quick aid.
What did you make of Tim's comments there about the corner? And he had a chat to a couple of people in the corner, and addressed some issues. Do you know who he's referring to, when he made those comments?
Well, I'm told that obviously Mark Gambin would have been central to all this, and it's a credit to Tim's loyalty and a testimony to his loyalty that he's stuck by Mark Gambin, and I think Mark Gambin's a fine cutman. And I know that after the fight, Tim said to his team, I wanted somebody to save me, which was a fascinating comment. So I think Tim at the time, he said even in a recent interview that he almost lied to the doctor at the time during the fight, because the doctor said, can you see? And Tim said, well, what am I going to say? If I say I can't see, I could lose the belt. So he said, yeah, I could see. But we clearly know that his visibility was impaired. And he later said to his team that I wanted somebody to save me, which is obviously either, and he struck cry for help to the doctor before round 4 or his team before round 4, which would have enabled him to get a draw. So it's a fascinating revelation, and it's one that will drive the narrative of this fight, because if there is another cut, Team Tszyu will have to act quickly, expediently, and make quick decisions under pressure, and they didn't handle that well last time. That's the key.
What would happen, if there was to be another cut from an elbow or a head clash or something? How much pressure would be on the corner of Tim Tszyu?
Massive pressure. I mean, Jay, he said it in your interview a couple of days ago, Tim. He said that the way the southpaw style against orthodox, there's going to be some natural clashes and collisions with their knees, their feet, and that could lead to another collision. It's absolutely possible we could see another cut in this fight. It could be another gruesome cut. And interesting, if you notice, Tszyu's grown his hair for this fight, and I'm told, talking to Tszyu, that the result of that, him growing his hair, is to provide extra protection for the prospect of another elbow. So there's been some real measures that have taken place, and I believe that the Team Tszyu corner is under as much pressure as ever, because this is career defining. They've had 2 losses on American soil. A third would be catastrophic and possibly career ending in America. So he needs to win this fight. I believe he will. I believe he'll stop Fundora, cut free, but he has to get the job done.
Now, we saw Nikita Tszyu down here on Fremont Street, mates. What do you make of Nikita Tszyu's career so far? And, you know, he's a new father now. What are you expecting from Nikita Tszyu 2.0?
I'll be honest, Jay, he surprised me. I think Nikita's developing beautifully. I mean, some people have been critical of Nikita, that he's not as polished as Tim, and nor should he be, because he's only had 10 fights. But you think about Tim's trajectory. Tim didn't headline a fight until I think his 15th fight. Nikita's done it a lot earlier, maybe his 6th or 7th fight. So Nikita's been in the spotlight a lot earlier, and I think he's handled his rise quite well. And I actually see that he's adding tools to his game. His head movement was a lot better against Masudia. In the early rounds, he was moving brilliantly, and then he sort of went back to some default movements. But I think Nikita's got some upside, and this is an interesting fight against Ismaili because it's his first international opponent. He's 12-0, 8 knockouts. He should beat him. I think he will. From footage I've seen of Ismaili, I don't think he'll pose too many problems for Nikita with his power. But he's also had the hand surgery. He had to have a second clean out, which delayed his return. But I'm told they removed a fragment of bone, which was just causing a bit of annoyance and aggravating the area. So Nikita's pretty much at 100% now. And I think, look, can he win a world title? We don't know. But I believe he can get to better than domestic quality. I think he can be a world quality fighter. Whether he takes that next elevation to win a world title, I don't know. But I'd love to see him continue on his trajectory, because he's a real attractive fighter. He's a pay-per-view star potentially.
Mate, just last one, I want to ask about, No Limit Boxing, mate. Massive activation here on Fremont Street tonight. It's been a great week here in Vegas, mate. What are they doing for Australian boxing? There's other promoters out there, but I mean, we haven't sort of seen this sort of level before here in Las Vegas.
Honestly, Jay, look, I know they've got criticism, No Limit, but they've set the benchmark for Australian boxing, and I don't believe it will take a very special promotional company to ever exceed and usurp what No Limit have done for Australian boxing. Now, there's some other good promoters in Australian boxing. We know who they are. But I think there's still another few levels for No Limit. And when you look at where they've positioned him in the fights they've got for him, even for him to be back on this stage again, just 8 months after losing in such brutal circumstances to Bakram Mirzallayev in Orlando, I thought it would be a 2-year rebuild. Well, it's only been 8 months. So that's credit to No Limit for the pull they have, the negotiating power they have with PBC and other American forces. And I think they've set a standard that if it's beaten, it will take a very special promotional arm to do it. I also think they've raised the bar for other promoters in Australia to emulate, and they may do that. But I think they've also got Liam Paro in their stable now. I think they could turn him into a pay-per-view star. And we've seen guys like George Kambosos, who's been a trailblazer for Australian boxing. What he's done's been incredible. Jai Apatai's been a revelation. He's got talent to burn, and we hope he can be elevated because he deserves to be. He's one of our best. So, No Limit, when you think about their start, they came from, I think, a show in Dubbo a decade ago to now being, for me, world class. They're as good as any promotional company in world boxing, and it's a credit to them and their drive, their energy, and their vision. And it can get only better from here.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Pete. Appreciate it, mate.
And just one last one, Macca. You're loving Vegas. What else is going to go on for you, mate? What are you going to do for us?
I'm not sure. I've been pretty subdued this week, to be honest with you. So I think I've got a breakout night with you and Stevie P.
Well, if Tim wins on Sunday, you might stay here for the next 8 months until his next fight.
I might be comatose.
Me too. I can't handle one beer, so there you go.
Thanks so much, Pete. Appreciate it, mate.